Hello everybody, this is Skystone, and I'm going to play The Day the Laughter Stopped. I've never played this before. It's a web game, and you can find it on hypnoticcow.com. A couple of my friends suggested it for me, and, well, why not play it? Because, well, I have no clue what it is. Now, I've heard... Oh, okay, well, let's just start. It was just a rainy day in late September when he first noticed me. The sound is very loud, I just realized that. My friends and I were coming from gym class and hurried across the schoolyard to get out of the cold. I saw him standing in front of the southern entrance, where the 10th graders were allowed to smoke. I noticed that he was looking at me all the way from the gym hall to the building. My heart skipped a beat. He was tall, handsome, and all my friends had a crush on him. I always thought he was way too cool for me. He was almost a grown man, and I was only 14. So apparently I'm a girl that's 14. That is amazing. Before I entered the school building, I stopped for a moment and looked back at him. There he stood, a cigarette in his hand, his eyes fixed on me. Why not? I started to raise a hand, shyly and briefly, and attempted an ultimately awkward smile. He smiled back at me, and my heart jumped. A few weeks later, my best friend and I ran into him in the hall on our way to science class. It was the first time we spoke to any of us. We stood there and chatted for a while. My friend did most of the talking. I was too nervous to even look at him. When the bell rang, he told us about a party at a friend's house coming this weekend. He said he liked talking to us. He said we were cooler than he thought. Then he asked us if we wanted to come. Well, if it's a party, then no. I wasn't comfortable with the idea. These guys were so much older than us, and we wouldn't know anybody there. But before I could say anything, my friend accepted for the both of us. Thanks a lot, friend. I told her I wasn't sure my parents would allow it, and she suggested telling our parents we were staying at each other's places. I didn't like lying to my parents, but she convinced me it was for the best. And after all, the most important part was that he thought we were cool. Yeah, cool. And that he wanted to hang out with us. I nodded and spent the rest of my classes daydreaming about the weekend. Okay, keep going. We arrived at the party at 8:30 p.m. Someone we never met opened the door and let us in. There were 15 or 20 people present. We tried to blend in as best as we could, but it seemed pointless. It was obvious we didn't belong. The minutes we spent standing awkwardly in the corridor felt like an eternity. I was about to beg my friend to leave when he found us. A big, warm smile on his face. He came over and hugged us. I didn't know what to do. I was caught off guard and just stood there, stiff as a board. He guided us down toward the couch, even though there is no down, and offered us the last free seats. We sat down and handed us each a drink. Yeah, don't drink. I didn't want to look like a loser. Wow! Thanks. Game, you're all forcing me to go in one path. I brought it up to my mouth, and the smell alone made my stomach turn. I tried desperately to relax, holding the drink casually in my hand as if I had just taken a sip. We started talking. I did my best to keep the conversation going, hoping it would distract them from the glass in my hand, hoping they wouldn't notice. But he was nice. He introduced us to some of his friends, and they joked and goofed around, and I slowly started to relax and feel comfortable around them. Is that the drugs affecting? Hope not. Later that night, after we had joined some of the guys out on the balcony for their smoke, he and I stayed behind alone. We talked for a long time. I told him about the situation with my parents, and he told me about his ex-girlfriend, how she had left him for his best friend. Suddenly he leaned in and tried to kiss me. Okay, this music kind of makes me uncomfortable, so, gonna pull back. Later that night, after we had joined some of the guys out on the balcony for their smoke, he and I stayed behind alone. We talked for a long time, and the music is starting to change for some weird reason. I told him about the situation with my parents, and he told me about, the music's not changing, about his ex-girlfriend and how, In a knee-jerk reaction, I stumbled back and stared at him, shocked. I didn't understand what had just happened. All I knew was that I suddenly felt very self-conscious and ashamed. Wow. Game, you're not giving me any options here. He laughed. He said that he was drunk and he didn't mean anything by it. He said he understood if I didn't want to do this and that he respected me even more for it. He said he appreciated me as a friend, though still confused and ashamed. I was also relieved he said it. Quickly I changed the topic and prayed it wouldn't come up again. Whenever I saw him in school during the next weeks, I was anxious he would mention our encounter on the balcony, but he didn't. We just chatted in the halls about our classes and teachers and grades and upcoming exams. He was nice, and I slowly started to forget what had happened. Sometimes I even wondered if it truly did happen or if I had just imagined it. The day before Christmas break, I had found a card in my locker. It had a picture of a cute kitten in a red Santa hat that said, "This made me think of you, and I wanted to wish you a perfect Christmas. I hope you get everything you wish for." My head was glowing red. My best friend saw me and snatched the card out of my hands, and I'm guessing she's just gonna send it either way, even if secret lover. I told her we were just friends. She asked me if I was gonna send the card. Yeah, she's just gonna send it back, but whatever, I have a choice, so yeah, I'm gonna don't send the card, but I hadn't thought about it until now, but it was too late to buy a card anyways. During my classes, I tried to write him a note instead. I guess my friend didn't do it. Didn't send the card. I started over at least 100 times, but nothing good came out of it, and I went home without responding at all. During the winter months, we started to see more of each other. He came to hang out with us on the schoolyard and tagged along when we went shopping in the city. My friends liked him. He was witty and charming, and we all had a lot of fun together. It felt good having him around. At times, I was a little intimidated because he was so smart and mature, but he always made me feel at ease and acted like he didn't care that I was not. Sometimes, when we were alone, he tried to hold my hand. I don't know, I just don't like this guy. I didn't know what to do. I was uncomfortable and a little embarrassed, but I didn't want him to think I was a scared little child. I let him hold it for a while before pretending to look for something in my jacket. Afterward, I kept my hands in my pocket so he couldn't grab it again, and prayed he wouldn't ask me about it. Spring came, and the school year was about to end. We were spending a lot of time together, taking walks and talking for hours. For the first time in my life, I felt like somebody understood me. Not even my best friend knew what was going on inside me sometimes. I tried to talk to her about the sadness and the longing for something I couldn't name or explain, but she didn't understand. She tried, but her attempts at comforting me just left me feeling more alone than ever. But he understood. He felt the same way. He said it was an integral part of growing up, realizing what the world is truly like and longing for the bliss and the beauty of childhood innocence, and the world they promised us. He said not many others understood this, and that I had a gentle soul. In school, we saw each other more than ever, and tried to cross paths between every period. I had stopped trying to explain to my friends that we were not a couple, that what we had was so much more than that, more special than love. They teased me from time to time, but I didn't mind. They just didn't understand. His birthday came, and he invited all of us to the party at the lake he wanted to throw the next weekend. The weather was slowly getting warmer, and he said it was time to open party season. We had heard of famous lake parties, but had never been to one. We were still children then. After he talked to my friends, he held me back until they were gone, and told me to meet him behind the school after my last period. Okay, I'm gonna go home. I was nervous. Something in the way he said it made me uncomfortable. Yeah. But I was afraid of what he would say the next day if I didn't show up. Oh, great. After class, I headed outside. I had decided to go home and tell him something had happened that made me forget that. Oh yeah, I would say that the next day I didn't show up, okay? Yeah, so it's all good. That I had gotten a bad grade, or that my parents called me and told me to come home straight away. I was halfway across the schoolyard when I heard him call my name. In a moment, he was next to me, of course. He said he had been waiting for me, and before I could say anything, he took my hand and guided me to the back of the school building. We stood there awkwardly for a moment, facing each other. He said that he was the luckiest guy in the world. He said that I was the best thing that ever happened to me, and that this was the best birthday present ever. Then he kissed me. Pulled back. I was in shock. Before I knew what was happening, he had pushed his tongue into my mouth. It tasted bitter and salty, and saliva was running down his tongue onto mine. My stomach turned, and I tried to pull away, but my back was against the wall. He was pressed against me, and I felt something strange on my leg. Okay. An eternity passed before he stopped, took my hand, and walked me to the bus stop. Okay, this is getting awkward. The rest of the week, I tried to wrap my head around what had happened. I didn't understand why he did it. I thought we were just friends. Exactly, that's what I'm thinking too. I tried to understand what I had done wrong, what I had missed. I avoided him as best as I could, and hoped the weekend would never come. Then it was there. My best friend had come by to pick me up. She chatted the entire time about the boy she had a crush on, and about the excitement of finally being invited to a real grown-up party. She told me she hoped her crush would be there, and how she imagined they would end up together, snuggling under the stars after everyone had left. I felt sick. I was afraid of seeing him, afraid of what he might say. I didn't know what I was supposed to do now, what was expected of me. I didn't like kissing him, but I didn't want to lose my best friend. I hoped that it might not mean anything, that it was just because it was his birthday, something we did as friends, like holding hands. When we arrived at the lake, I felt lightheaded, and I could hear my heart pounding in my ears. There were many people there, some from our school, some I recognized from the party, my friends. I sat with them and tried to act normal. After a while, he found us. We congratulated him, and he sat with us, talked, made jokes, and laughed. Slowly, I started to calm down. He didn't mention anything that had happened, and hadn't even touched or paid special attention to me. It was almost like it never happened, like it was no big deal after all. When the sun began to set, his friends started barbecuing on hibachis they bought. The air was soon filled with the smell of roasted beef and sausages, a smell that always made me think of the summers in my grandparents' garden. My friends were scattered among the many smaller groups had formed, and while everyone was busy, he came to me and asked me to take a walk. Okay, refuse. I was immediately scared. He wanted to kiss me again, or talk. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. What had happened? My heart in my throat. I said I need to check on my friends, but he said it wouldn't take long. That he just wanted to talk. He took my hand and guided me to the footpath that surrounded the lake. He held my hand tight as we walked along the path. I didn't want to be there. I was afraid of what he was going to say. And now I know what this site is called, Hypnotic Cow, because it's like weird music and all that stuff. I didn't want to talk about the kiss, about the thing. I just felt pressed against my leg. I was ashamed. I wish we could just talk walk quietly like this forever. I wish we didn't have to talk. Suddenly he stopped and faced me. A moment later, his lips were pressed against mine. Pull away. Before I knew what was happening, his tongue was in my mouth, bitter, salty, and I felt sick. I tried to pull away, but he held my head between his hands and kept it pressed against his. Then we were on the ground. He lay on top of me and continued to push his tongue against my throat. I felt something pressed against my throat. I doubt I can do anything now. Stop him. Okay. Wow, thanks a lot, game. I'm guessing I can't even click this. Yeah, this is because you can't stop them. That's why I can only stay still. His hands went under my sweater and reached for my breasts, grabbing them hard. He started to breathe harder, and I felt him getting more and more excited. I can't click. He stopped and sat up. He opened the button of his pants and started to pull down mine. The ground was cold and damp. It was getting dark. He took off my slip and pulled his thing out of his pants. This is why you always get permission from a girl before you even start to think or do something like this. This I can't even click on it. Freeze up. Great. I felt a sharp pain in my crotch as he entered me. I couldn't move. This is really awkward for me to say, by the way. He started to push in and out, and I heard laughing in the distance. I wondered what my parents would say if I got pregnant. Okay, well that was weird. The game, just kind of crashed, and, well, I had to, restart it, but, I mean, I don't know. Luckily, there's a continue feature for this game, which is kind of weird, but, let's continue. Where was I? Pregnant? Somewhere there. Oh. Yeah, I wondered what my parents would say if I got pregnant. I was panting heavily, and drops of sweat fell onto my face. I just lay there, still and unmoving, as hours, days, years went by. And then it was over. He got up, put on his pants. I slowly sat up and looked for the clothes he had thrown aside. As he was putting up, he said without looking at me, "How about next time you loosen up a little?" Put my pants on one leg at a time. Wow, this guy's a douche. I don't remember how I got home. My family, oh wow, sad music. Sad music. My family was just about to eat dinner when I walked into the kitchen. My mom asked me why I was back so early. I told her I was tired. She set another plate for me. My dad and my brother were arguing. I ate bread. They asked me something. I must have answered. They kept talking. I wonder what my brother would say. I wonder what my mom would think of me. I wondered if my dad would still love me. I wonder if I should tell them. Tell them! I should tell them. Oh, great. Yeah. Well, it wouldn't let me anyways, but oh well. After dinner, I went up to my room for a while. I just stood there, silently, amidst the lavender walls, the end star sink, which I have no clue what that is. Avril Lavigne and Josh Hartnett posters. The bed with dolls and teddy bears I had since I was 4. The TV and the shelf with videotapes. The desk and the dresser. Decorated with photos, drawings, and stickers. The puzzle we had started on Christmas but never finished. The clothes on the ground. Scattered on the ground anyways. I knew this room. I had seen it before, but it wasn't mine. It belonged to someone who didn't live here anymore. Someone I had known for a long time. Someone who had left, and left me behind. I stood in the middle of the room until my parents went to sleep, until the lights went dark in the homes around us, until my legs would carry me no more, and I couldn't hold back the tears any longer. Can I even do this? Yeah. It's basically life. I was like thinking that, but yeah. This game is pretty depressing. Yeah. Mostly because of the music and the fact that you actually have to engage your brain in the actual reading. In my case, anyways. Some people might just skim over it. Back to menu. And here's why, I guess. So yeah, this is an explanation, I guess, and why they chose to do this. Well, it's certainly an interesting topic. I mean, it's very, it definitely makes you think. And it makes you, well, definitely a bit disturbed by, like, what's going on, but if you were in that person's shoes, what would happen? And I guess choices don't really play out because you don't really have a choice if you were in that person's shoes. Oh. Yeah, so this guy's talking about how some people would say that, oh, it's the person's fault that they're getting raped. Nope, nope. It's the person that lures them in because the person that's the victim doesn't really have a choice. But, yeah, I mean, if you're easily depressed, don't play this game, because it's kind of depressing, but it definitely gives you a point, and the point's very powerful. Well, this has been Skystone, and thank you for watching.